Welcome back to Digital Business Evolution. We have a really fun episode today. I have a special guest here. This is her second appearance, one of many. She's going to be coming on more often, even if she doesn't know it. She is. But we have Lauren Hunnewell here today, who is our integrator for DBE. She is the COO of the company, and we're coming up on our 3-year workiversary together, which is pretty crazy. So this episode's a little bit different. We're going to be bringing Lauren on for sure so that I can interview her and we can chat all things systems and Monday.com and project management. But today, that is not what we're doing. Lauren, why don't you tell everybody what we're doing today?
So we wanted to do a fun episode for January. So I presented with Jess. I said, hey, why don't I interview you? And she was like, heck yes, let's do it. So that is what today's episode is going to be all about.
And I have no idea the question she's going to ask. So I don't know if you're going down like a personal route or a business route. I'm hoping it's not too businessy and boring, but it's okay if it is. So I'm going to turn the episode over and I'm going to let you take the reins.
All right.
Oh my God, I'm nervous.
So we're going to start with some kind of bigger questions. It won't all be super businessy. We will have some fun ones in there and a flash round. But I think that this one is a really important, it's a great question because it just it shows where all this began. So I would love if you would take us back to when Empower was born, for those listeners that may be new around here and how did that even happen? Because I think it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it's such a whirlwind. So if you don't know, Empower is our 12-week group coaching program. It's our signature program. It's like the heartbeat of the business. It's essentially where the transition into business coaching for me really started. So unofficially, Empower started in 2017. And the reason that it had started was because at that time, I was running a multiple 6-figure fitness business. So health and fitness business online. I started dabbling in the health and fitness online world in 2012. So 2012 to 2017, it was my cute side hustle because I was a full-time elementary school teacher. And honestly, I didn't want it to be anything else. I just was making a little bit of cash on the side and I got home at 3:25. Mike got home at 9 p.m. So I just wanted to fill my time. I was a bit unfulfilled and we needed more money, if I'm being completely honest, because we were living the American dream, completely house poor, paycheck to paycheck. So $79 here, $79 there. I was slinging, 12-week ebooks at the time. So for 5 years, I did that as a cute side hustle. Once I left my teaching job, I was making about $300 to maybe $1,000 a month, all in, from online personal training to in-person personal training to network marketing. I was just doing anything I could do. When I left my job, I definitely had not replaced my income at all, but I left and I went all in on entrepreneurship. And that's where I scaled my health and fitness business to multiple 6 figures very quickly. I mean, within the first 2 months, this is not normal, but I was about a month in, I hit my first 10K month. And then it just snowballed. It was 20K months, 30K months. And it was pretty standard and it just became the norm. So what ended up happening in 2017 is a lot of my friends in the fitness industry back in New York were just asking out of curiosity, why are you always on the computer? What are you doing on Zoom calls in between clients? How do you make so much money? I don't understand. Why are you always flying across the country? So in 2017, 2018, 2019, I was bi-coastal because I was a part of different masterminds and different events. So once a month, I was flying to LA for years. And so they were asking him all these questions of, what? And so I just started helping them. And I was helping them for free. I didn't think that I was a business coach. Full transparency, I had never gone to business school, marketing school. I didn't have a degree in any of that. I was a doctorate dropout with a phys ed degree and fashion degree. So in 2017, I was just helping friends for free. And one friend turned into 3, turned into 7. And all of a sudden we're sitting around my laptop every Thursday in between our lunch break. And we were in the, fitness studio. And I'm teaching them how to build landing pages and why it's so important to have an email list and how can you monetize your social media. And most of them had way bigger followings than me. At the time, I probably had 2,000 followers and I was doing multiple 6 figures in health and fitness. And I had some friends at the gym that I worked at that were quote unquote influencers, literally 150,000 followers, Nike master trainers, and they weren't monetizing. I'm like, you're crazy. So I just started helping them for free. And by the time we came around to 2018, I had put a couple friends through launches, and my first friend that I put through an official launch, she had an $80,000 launch. And I was like, huh, okay. One, I think I need to charge. Two, I think I'm onto something. I think I'm good at something. And three, I'm a teacher. I've been writing curriculum for a decade. I was like, let me lay this out into a curriculum. I had now done it with dozens of fitness friends. And so Empower was really born out of the desire and need that other people had. But specifically, I can pinpoint the day I spoke on a stage, and this was October, November of 2018, I think. 2017, 2018, I can't remember. I don't, whatever. And I spoke on this fitness business stage in New York City. There were probably about 200 people there. They were all trainers. And we were talking, it was a panel, and we were talking about this crazy idea of doing things online. And so they had a brick and mortar studio owner. They had a bunch of people on the panel. And I was the only one on the panel who was gung ho, like, online training is the wave of the future and it's amazing. And I'm able to help all these people and make all this money. And a really common pushback, especially in the fitness world, is, well, I don't want to work with people online. I have this job because I don't want to be behind a desk. How am I going to train someone if I can't physically be there? And so I basically squashed all of those objections while on stage. And some of the panelists were disagreeing with me, and we were having like kind disagreements and arguments on stage. But what ended up happening was, after I spoke, I got off stage and it was like a flood of trainers around me. And so the next morning I said, okay, I'll hop on a call with all of you. I'll explain exactly what it is that I do. And that was it. Empower was born that next day. I think we enrolled like 20 trainers. I didn't even have a system. Like, it wasn't a thing yet. Funny enough, and this is a really long answer, but it's so important. Empower used to be called Empower University. And that came up because I was on a Zoom call with them. I had no course. There was no curriculum written. I was on a Zoom call with these trainers, just a week after they all decided to pay me. And I was showing them how we wanted to open Facebook groups up, because we were going to be using a Facebook group. So in the Zoom call, I have open a Facebook group and I have open Canva. And I'm like, yeah. And then you're just going to create like a header picture for your Facebook group, and you put the name of it in here. And I'm literally on the live call and I'm like, except my program for you guys doesn't have a name. Okay, so you're just going to put a name in here. We're going to go with something cute like Empower University, because I'm here to empower you to take your expertise and bring it online and help other people. And that was it. We named it Empower University. And about a year and a half later, I found out that you actually can't use the word university. You can't use academy, university, or institute unless you are actually an accredited of the following. So we then changed it to Empower You, just like a giant capital U, and played off of that for a while. And then about a year and a half later, we took away the U, and now it's just Empower. But that is how it was born.
Yeah. So much to unpack here. One, I think it is so cool that, you just saw this need and people were coming to you and you just realized, hey, I have something here. But I also want people to understand that this didn't just happen overnight. This took how many years before late nights, ebooks, all of that to be ready for this place that the quote I love was, when luck meets
opportunity.
Yeah.
Or preparation
meets opportunity is luck.
Yeah.
So you just found yourself in that right place. And this is why it's so important to just get started.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, and people ask me all the time on podcasts, like, oh, the bio, it's a super sexy overnight success. And at the time I was, I don't know, 32 or something like that. So one could say that it was 32 years of trying and learning and preparation, and people that I had met. And I always use the Steve Jobs quote, but you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And the tiniest little minute things of, well, now I know why I took that weird class in college that at the time I didn't think was important at all. Right. So yes. And I had been doing stuff online for 5 years before I quit my job. 5 years. That's like a lifetime in the digital world. I had seen so many. Instagram wasn't even a thing. Instagram didn't exist when I started. So, I saw a lot of changes, and I had tried ebooks and high ticket and low ticket and paid Facebook groups and free Facebook groups and blogging. I mean, all of it. I've done really like all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And stayed consistent throughout the ups and downs, which I probably would guess would be
Really
how
hard.
you are where you are today. And
Yeah.
really hard.
Really
And really
hard though.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Because your ego gets in the way. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're still doing the same thing. You're still talking about empower. You're still launching like, and then maybe not, I can't speak for the listener, but the internal dialogue of your ego goes, well, have people even, do they think that I've grown? Are they judging me? Is this bad? I'm still here doing the same
Mm.
thing, And so I've had that battle too of just, no, I've grown a lot. I'm a completely different person 10 years later. Of course I am. But we still
Yeah.
serve this particular client with this particular problem and it works and we're helping people and we've made it better and better and better. So yes, we still do the same thing and we do it really well.
Yeah. And last question on this. Were there ever moments that you wanted to throw the towel in?
Are you asking because you know the answer? Of course. Of course. I mean, God, so many moments. I remember learning Kajabi. So Kajabi is a one-stop shop platform. It's the one that we use for our website, but also at this point we've started to use other things, but you could do your checkouts there, payment, website, blog, you could put podcasts up there, you host all of your courses there, you can do all of your email marketing. And so in 2017, I transitioned from, I think my website used to be on Squarespace and it took me 5 years to learn Squarespace. I did it myself. I didn't have any money. I couldn't hire people. So after years of finally learning how to like run Squarespace and not take money through PayPal, and really have it legally set up, I then had to learn Kajabi. And there were so many nights I didn't have to learn. I chose to learn. There were so many nights in our first apartment in New York. Mike would come home from work and I would just be like crying on the couch. And he's like, what's the matter? I'm like, the page didn't save. I worked on it for 45 minutes. And yeah, like, there were so many times I wanted to throw in the towel. Yeah. I still have moments of like, is this like, really?
And is there like a mantra or a word or something you hear yourself say when you have those moments? Like for me, it's like, just keep going or just show up. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's not about me. I think that's what I always come back to. It's not about me. And for the listeners, if you're in business, if you're a coach, if you're starting a business, that's like, if you can learn that, you're going to do really, really well. It's not about you. When you put out a piece
that's
of
so
content,
good.
right? Like even when you put
Got
something out that's like vulnerable and you're like, oh my God, what are people going to think? And it's like, it's not about you. It doesn't matter. It's not about you.
Yeah. It's about connecting and helping, inspiring. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So that was question 1.
I talk a lot.
Well, welcome to Jess and I when we get on Zooms 2 hours later.
I'll make it shorter. I'll do better.
I feel like you don't like this word, but it's kind of a hard word not to use. So what's your biggest failure and what did you learn from that experience? So it doesn't have to be like a failure, but it could be something that maybe like you had to try it a couple times or.
Yeah. Does it have to be related to business?
No, anything.
So I don't dislike the word failure. I just don't think the context in which, or the definition that society has given it is appropriate for what it actually is. So I just believe it's lessons, right? Like failure is like, whoops, it didn't work. I learned how not to do it. And you can take from that whatever you want. So I failed thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I've just chosen to look at those things as lessons. Biggest failure. Oh, I don't know that this is something that I've ever done. I think it would be something that I didn't do, actually. Yeah. So I can't pinpoint something in my life or my business where I'm like, wow, I really messed that up. I think it's things that I didn't do. So not listening to my intuition or my gut when I knew that I should have done X or not done Y, but I didn't listen to my intuition. Moments of people pleasing, doing things for, the credibility, the awards, the accolades, the recognition and the significance, as opposed to maybe because I wanted to. So I think moments for me of failure, certainly in the business, have definitely been not listening to my gut or getting getting distracted by shiny objects and not keeping my blinders on. Comparison is my kryptonite. So that's my default, like where I go when I'm not mentally well, where if I'm not flexing my mental health muscle, even if I am, comparison is my kryptonite. So whether I'm comparing myself to my past self or myself to other people, that is definitely my Yeah, that is my downfall. So I'd say even till this day, that is still my biggest failure, is allowing that to have power over me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something that, I've heard a couple of your mentors say, just like in general for the accolades, is like, how many testimonials is enough, or
Mhm.
how many, of the magazine covers is enough.
Yep.
And I think that that's something important for the listeners to hear too, is that when you are doing something, there's this voice in your head that's like, no, I need more, I need more. And that's the comparison to, right? Oh, this
Yeah.
person has it, so I have to have it too.
Yeah.
And how do you work through that?
Oof. I have mentors. I have mentors that I can talk to. I've hired help, if it's a therapist or something. I have practices in place. So different meditations, journaling, breath work. Like I have tools in my toolbox that I can go to, but I also have people that I can talk to. I have friends, peers, even if I'm not paying them to be my mentor, I'm in masterminds. I have friends that I can reach out to. I mean, people on the team. It's like you and I have had conversations about
Hmm.
things that feel off or are difficult. I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful that Mike is also on the same path of growth. Yes, he's also in the business, but that doesn't matter. He was supportive and on the path of growth before he came into the business. So it's like phoning a friend
Hmm.
is really important. And it's not about complaining or gossiping or something. It's just like, hey, I want to work through this. Are you open to listening to me? And knowing myself has been the biggest thing. So the more that I learn about myself and the more awareness that I have, which I always say awareness is the key, I can understand myself better. Like, why is this triggering me? Okay, that's interesting. What happened? What can I work on? What did I do or not do that got me to this place? And really taking responsibility for that. But also if I'm coming up to you or Mike or whomever and I'm saying, hey, I want to talk about something for a second. Like, I got to get this off my chest. I want to work through it. This is what I need. Right. So there are times that I might come to Mike and say, I'm really looking for a solution. I want to talk this out. Or there are times that I come to him and I say, babe, I just want you to listen. Like, I need to say it. I just want you to listen. I know you're going to want to give feedback, but I just need to verbally process this. And you're here and you're my person. So I'm going to dump it out on you, but please don't actually, give me anything in return. And so I think that level of awareness has just been, and the question is then how do you do that? The work, right? Like the deep
The
work.
work.
It's yeah, the work. It's the reading, learning about yourself, learning about ego, learning about all these things, podcasts, going to events. I mean, I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars now in my own growth. And I will continue to do so because I think that is the most
Yeah,
important place to invest. Yeah.
agreed. And it's a big thing that we do in DBE as well,
Yeah.
on the team growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always goes to the work. So do the work.
It's not always fun, but it is liberating.
Yeah, and necessary. And when you get to unpeel that onion, man, what comes out, it is liberating. It is. As I've grown as an integrator this year, Jess can share that. Yeah,
Yeah.
liberation. With that, I think this is a nice little segue. What or who inspires you?
Ooh. Oh gosh, so many people. I mean, you inspire me a ton.
Aw.
Your dedication to growth. Our clients inspire the heck out of me, especially when I'm feeling stale or bored or dry, and I look at
Mhm.
their excitement to some of the things for us that are a bit more foundational and basic. And I'm like, wow, you're that excited to do this simple task that feels so menial. Like I can take from that. Um, watching people have light bulb moments. I think that's why I'm a teacher. I love teaching.
Yeah.
I love what inspires me is when someone doesn't understand what I'm saying and I can then quickly think on the spot and give another example, a different analogy, a different metaphor, and then see it all click. Like I can physically see it click. That inspires me because it also gives me that ego nudge of like, yeah, Jess, you're doing a good job. You're good at what you do. So that I think there's a level of my parents and my brother. My brother has been my biggest inspiration, cheerleader, best friend. He's 5 years older and he's just we don't curse on this show, but he's so badass. And I just love him and I've always been trying to kind of keep up with him. I don't
Mhm.
need to. I don't need to, but it's like been a fun game my whole life of like he's 5 years older and he's a guy. Obviously he can run faster and jump higher, but it's like, well, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? So he inspires me and of course my parents. I mean, my mom, man, she is so resilient. The stuff she's been through, her health issues,
Yeah.
watching her go through a kidney transplant, like just with such a positive attitude. There's nothing that woman can't do. And my dad has just like head down, just working for 50, 60 years. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people I take from everyone in my life. I give hopefully to everyone in my life too, but I take a piece of everyone in my life. And really, as I've gotten older, collect friendships.
Mhm.
I'm like really into collecting friendships. And so it's like, what can I take from each person? How can I be inspired from each person? And then give back to them tenfold. Yeah.
Love it. And if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, 18. Okay. So for context, what was I doing at 18? I just graduated high school and I was heading off to college. I went to University of Rhode Island for gymnastics. What would I say? What would the advice be? I probably around year 5 of a 10-year eating disorder at that point. Very horrible bulimia and addiction to diet pills, laxatives, fat burners, anything that could speed up my metabolism up and suppress my appetite, and forcing myself to, binge and purge dozens of times throughout the day. So, man, just, you're loved, you're worthy, you're enough. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, that's such a good one. Cause now almost for me too, it's like 10 years later, like just want to like give them a hug, it's going to all be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was 20 years ago.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
What?
If you're young and you're out there, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the future. I mean, I'm not going to lie, 30s are the best, but you'll get through it. All right. So I think that these are a couple of funny ones. How would your parents describe what you do?
Ooh, well, I've been doing it for so long. They could nail it. Like my mom
Yeah.
could pitch in power. Oh yeah,
Oh,
they could
that's
nail it.
awesome.
However, no, they would nail it. They really would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Mama G and Dr. G. Yeah.
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 My family would have no idea.
Oh, well, I still don't know what you do sometimes. It's so confusing. Like, what's an integrator?
Like, what is the word integrator? So funny. Okay. If you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would you choose? And this could obviously be like celebrity or something too, if you want. It doesn't have to be like a
Are they
president.
still alive or do they have to be deceased?
Either or.
And it has to be a historical figure. So much clarity. So
No, I mean, like,
here's my
it
answer.
could be anyone.
Okay, there's two things. We'll call them general population. I would love to have coffee with Mike's mom. She passed before I met her. And so that would mean a lot if I could meet her and just tell her how wonderful he is, and thank her. And man, celebrity, historical figure. Oh gosh, why didn't you prep me on this?
She did not get any questions beforehand.
I don't know. I don't have an answer. I really don't. I think, yeah.
I know,
circle
it's
back.
tough.
We'll circle back.
We'll circle back if you
Meanwhile,
get one.
I'm going to take my coffee and cry over here in the corner.
I did not mean to make you cry. Out of all the questions. Okay. These are more like life ones. So me and you both were pretty line in line with our thoughts around this. But I think your view on this has changed a bit. And I'd love for people to hear it, if I'm correct. But what does your morning routine look like? And do you still follow a morning routine?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My thoughts on this have changed drastically. So if you asked me this question 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, which many people did, I wrote articles in Shape magazine about morning routines and stuff. I had such a strict morning routine. It was like at 5:01, I'm doing this, and 5:02 and a half, I'm doing this, and 5:03, I'm doing this. And if you're not doing these things in this order for this amount of time, then you won't be successful. And that's okay. So if that's you, that's fine. And what I'm going to say is just my evolution of my understanding of the morning routine. So back in the day, it was very strict with meditation and journaling and workouts, movement and drinking a glass of 32 ounces of room temperature water with lemon and whatever. Now I really look at my morning routine as I still have it. It's super sacred. My morning routine used to be like 3 hours long. Now it's not quite as long, but it's from the moment that I get up until I'm ready to hit work for the day, or whether that's signing on to Slack, checking email, doing actual work. Um, and it's shorter than 3 hours. It's probably, I don't know. I guess if you count the workout, driving to the gym and driving back, it's probably still all in about 3 hours. So I do get up at 5 every day. I'm a morning person. I've always been a morning person. I think the most magical time of day is 5 to 7. It is. I'm obsessed. I know you agree. Like there's nothing better than 5 a.m. And if you don't believe me, you should try it for a month and see. It's just the world isn't up yet. Like it's quiet. It's just, it's so good. But now I go into my toolbox and I take what I need. So I really start to lean into like, what do I need today? And before the reason that I changed my mind so much is because it became a to-do list. And it was everything from like an hour and 15-minute Joe Dispenza meditation to like, I have to journal at least this many pages and write 3 gratitudes. And it became a to-do list, and it got to a place, and I had been doing that for probably 8 years. It got to a place where it just wasn't effective. I'm like checking off the boxes and it didn't make me feel good. It felt like a task. So now I just kind of go into my toolbox and I take what I need. And sometimes it's EFT tapping, and sometimes it's dancing, and sometimes it's a 15-minute meditation, and sometimes it's not journaling at all. And you know what? There are days too where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really creative. I'm going to open up Canva right now and I'm just going to work on stuff. And instead of judging myself, I'm like, that's fine. That's okay. I do have some non-negotiables. If they fall in line in the morning, okay, cool. If they don't, that's fine too. But movement every single day is a non-negotiable. And even that has changed my relationship to movement. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was bodybuilding, doing competitions, it was like, if I'm not on the floor throwing up in a puddle of sweat, then it wasn't a good workout. And now I'm like, I could just walk the dog for an hour and, do 2 miles, and I'm happy with that. So, there's some movement every single day. There's some pause of breath. There's some meditation, even if it's a couple of minutes in the chair before I do a podcast. It doesn't have to be an hour. I mean, I generally still do a 20 to 30-minute meditation every day. I'm not as hard on myself with the journaling of like, it has to be every day. We do gratitudes when we're at dinner. Mike and I, every day, we ask like, what'd you mess up today? What'd you win at today? What are you proud of today? What are you grateful for? And reading. I believe readers are leaders. I'm such a book nerd. I love reading. But again, it's not like it has to be 10 pages before 7 a.m. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Yesterday I didn't read, but the day before I read for a half hour. So there's just certain things, and I really just go into the toolbox and see what I need.
Yeah, I love that, because the structure kind of takes away from the whole magic of the morning, and it's whatever you need that day. So yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And I've always admired how you can do like an hour meditation. That's wild.
Oh, it's taken me years. I mean, I only was able to hit an hour without falling asleep in 2020. So it took me a solid, 8 years or so of meditating before I was able to get to, and I worked up from, years ago, it was like 2 minutes and then 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And then, yeah.
Yeah. And is it always Joe Dispenza?
No, it's not. I change around. I go through seasons. When I think back to our first apartment in New York, so like 2017, I was on a Tony Robbins kick where I did Tony's priming every day with the breathing, with the hands over the head and everything. Before that, when we were in New Jersey and I was a teacher, I was using a lot of Headspace, the app Headspace. I've used the app Calm. I've used the breathing app. So I go through different seasons, but Joe has definitely been the last few years, lots of Joe. And then also I don't want to say finally, I've gotten to a place where I feel very comfortable not being guided at all. So now I'm okay at unguided meditation. I'm not a master by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, sometimes it's just music. And then we have a mutual mentor, Jenny, who's put us through some pretty wild meditations that I've actually voice recorded. And so I've used a bunch of hers in the more recent, actually the last 2 months, I've been using hers every day.
Man, I wish I voice recorded them.
You could borrow.
Yeah. And I think sharing to the non-guided, sometimes it's so powerful.
So hard.
It's hard, but it's so powerful if you just sit there for, even if it's 5 minutes and just listen to yourself. my God, we're just so bombarded all day by everyone else's thoughts that
Yep.
for just a couple moments to just sit with yourself is really
I know.
powerful. And yeah, like I
That
said, I've
mentor,
always
Jenny,
admired.
actually yesterday she was talking about how many, many years ago she did a 10-day silent retreat and people were like, "Oh my gosh, like I don't know how you're going to do that. Like a silent retreat is crazy." And she's like, "I think you're confused. Like there's nothing silent about a silent retreat. There's so much noise in your head. It is the opposite of silent retreat. It's a stillness retreat. You're sitting still for, 10 hours a day and yes, you're not speaking to one another." She's like, "But it's so far from silent." And I was like, "Oh, you're right. Quiet is like the scariest place."
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever read that book, the woman Cameron, she does the morning pages.
No.
No, it's the artist life or the artist way, the artist way. Anyway, she says in there for 1 week to not go on like social media, not to check your email. And I luckily did it when I could in my life because now I just don't know that that would be possible in a lot of ways. Uh, and it's profound when you
Yeah.
just, because you almost don't know what to do with yourself when you can't
Yeah,
check your email or even email. Like, forget social media.
I
Just
know.
being connected is such a thing that we're all so wild.
Well, that was like the catalyst to my shamanic ego death that I had in
Mm.
2020 when we left New York and we went into the RV life and we were just out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can hear my thoughts for the first time in 35 years. And like I meditate every day and I'm like just now hearing my thoughts. And then it was like, do I even like those thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was moving to Florida, I think that was something you said. You
Yes.
were like, you're going to be able to hear your thoughts. And I do believe that's one of the reasons why I was led here was I sit on my patio or my balcony and I'm just quiet. And I'm like, this is priceless. This is worth so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember when you told me that, I was like, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple more questions and we'll do the flash round. What is one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting out in your career? It doesn't necessarily have to be business coaching, could just be digital business or online business.
Entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yeah, entrepreneurship.
Ooh, get a mentor. Yeah, find a mentor. You can't read the prescription bottle from the inside. Just even if you don't pay someone, like find a mentor to follow, someone who's done it, who's been there, who's built what you want to build, and just really learn from them because that's the art of collapsing time. It's like reading a book. It's like you can learn what somebody learned over 50 years of a lifetime in 200 pages. So get yourself a mentor. There's no you don't need to struggle through everything. You don't have to make every single mistake. Oh, really interesting. I heard a podcast recently with someone that we both really love, and he was talking about when the student passes, like when the mentee passes the mentor oftentimes has resentment and there's bitterness where it's like, oh my gosh, now you're making more money than me. You have a bigger following than I do. Like I taught you everything you know, right? That's the ego. But he was reframing it and saying like, okay, hold on, put yourself in check. The whole point of a mentor is to pass down the knowledge so that it doesn't take the mentee as long. And if we look at generations, if we zoom out, it's literally like because of the generation before us, we have the things that we have today, whether it's technology, cars, right? Like, so the sheer purpose of mentoring is to help the next group, the next generation, the next class do it faster and better and to avoid the pitfalls and the challenges that you ran into because you learned those things already. And it was so
Mm.
beautiful when he said it because it is a very common reaction for a mentor. And I lived in that space for a while too, not of resentment if someone passed me, but I would get very upset if they didn't credit that I had worked with them
Mm.
or say that like I was helping, that I was part of the journey. Like I would feel
Mm.
like I wasn't important anymore or something, or like they didn't see value when before they used to talk about how great it was and now they're at a different level and they're not saying that like they started with me or like that sucks. And that's ego. But when he said that I was like, wow, yeah, that is our job as mentors. And so as a leader, I've always been a leader and I've always been willing to go first. I get to remind myself of that in the times that there are bumps and bruises because it sucks when you're in it. And I'm like, man, that took me like 6 years to learn that. And you just learned that in 1 hour webinar. Like, okay, but cool. That's really cool that I can do that. So yeah, I'd say get yourself a mentor.
Yeah, and I just want to publicly acknowledge you for for being the leader that you are, because I've learned so much just by working beside you. Obviously my whole goal was to not have to ask you questions to make your life easier. And I was able to learn so much from you just by being around you and in your world. So yeah, I totally agree. Get a mentor. It could be a book, it could be a person you follow, until you can invest in yourself one day.
Could be a really great podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the funny thing I want to share with that is it's so similar with like family too. Like if you try to help like your family and then they like go get a book and they're like, oh, look, this book said thing. And you're like, but I told you that, and you just have to be like, okay, it doesn't matter. They're helping themselves. I don't need the credit,
Yeah.
So love that.
Thank you for the comments.
Yeah. What's your favorite productivity hack for entrepreneurs? It doesn't have to be for entrepreneurs. It could just be a productivity hack.
Scheduling yourself into the calendar. And I know I'm getting the side eye already from her because I'm not the best at it. Practice what or do what I say, not what I do. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the key to anything productive is making sure that you feel re-energized. You feel like your cup is full. You feel fulfilled in other areas. So I would say practice putting yourself first and put your own things into the calendar and put your own self-care into the calendar and hobbies. We shouldn't be only doing hobbies when we hit certain goals in the business. It's not like a reward for, oh, I did this in the business, I get to go do this other thing. It's the opposite. Yeah. Which I have dance class on Monday night. So
I was very happy. I was like, oh, good. She's got that. She's got vision board. I'm like, action board. I'm like, I love this. Yes, I have access to Jess's calendar. I see everything. But what was I going to say about the scheduling? For me, what you've taught me with that is add everything to the calendar. Like we live by the calendar, and there's been times where I forgot to put things in because it wasn't 100% booked yet. You get burned. So add it to the calendar.
Yep.
We don't remember calendar, anything. It doesn't happen. Oh yeah. If it's not on Jess's calendar, it is not happening.
Like even coffee dates with friends and stuff, like everything has to be on the calendar. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I live by Jess's calendar. So, which is kind of funny. Okay. I love this one. This is the last one until we get into the flash round. What's one question you wish I'd asked you and how would you have answered it?
Oh gosh, way to drop a bomb on me. One question. I don't have one question. Oh, yeah. So the question that I ask every single episode guest at the end is the same question. And I say, I named the company Digital Business Evolution. We named the company Digital Business Evolution because we believe that you're always evolving and growing. And as you evolve and grow, so does your business because it's a reflection of you. So I ask, what is your next personal or business evolution? So if you asked me that, well, in the business, we are officially YouTubers, which I'm so excited about. So that's a whole evolution. Funny enough, I started my YouTube page in 2016, and that was the second page. I'd started one in 2014 under a different account, but I've never posted anything on it. So we officially have a YouTube page up now. You can actually go check it out. We're doing fun stuff over there. So that's an evolution of the business. And I think for us also just getting onto some other platforms, really diversifying with like LinkedIn and hopefully Pinterest by the end of the year. We're bringing back our in-person events. So that is kind of what's going on in the business evolution. And in the personal life evolution, I started a journey of writing for a book. I slowed that journey down because I'm not sure that's the route that I want to go at this moment. I began writing a children's book, which I'm really excited about, but I'm not sure that the type of children's book I was writing was for me. So I'm just kind of navigating what that looks like. And this evolution, this chapter for me is all about community. It's just all about connection, cultivating these friendships. We're not going to be moving this year, I promise you. So as we're finally staying put for at least a year, just cultivating routine, community, connection, habits, hobbies, things for fun for me. So yeah, that would be the question. Yeah.
So funny. I was telling Victor, that I was doing this, and he goes, "Oh, you should ask her some of the questions that she asks at the end of the episode." So good thing that wasn't my question. Well, I mean, I said that was my last question, but still. Okay, this is great. So now it's just like flash round, quick first thought. One of them I think is kind of funny. So I'm curious to see how you're gonna answer that, but we're gonna go fast. So favorite book or best book?
I have so many favorites. One that I've read many, many, many times is Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Also, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I obviously love Alex Hormozy's $100 Million Offers. I think that's a great book. But anything Joe Dispenza. Becoming Supernatural was something that catapulted a lot of growth for me years ago.
I have that. Should read it next.
Oh, it's so good.
Favorite movie?
Well, of all genres, The Princess Bride, Shawshank Redemption, Avatar, The Neverending Story.
Favorite song?
Oh, that I don't have. No way. I mean, Calvin Harris, Let's Go is our Empower theme song, and it has been for 5 years. That is definitely not a favorite. Anything trance. So electronic music, the genre trance, which is orchestra and symphony sped up to like 180 BPM is my favorite.
If you weren't married, do you think you'd be a Tinder girl or a Hinge gal or organic all the way?
I have never even seen one of those apps. I've never experienced apps dating. That was all after Mike. So organic all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this is such a random question, but so funny.
That's a judgment-free answer, by the way. We met through a mutual friend, and I think that's a really great way to meet. So yeah, organic.
Yeah, I'm an organic girl all the way, but online dating, I mean, it works for a lot of people. So yeah. No shame. All right. What's one last thing you want to leave the listeners with today that you think they'd be surprised to know about you?
Oh my gosh. I have been putting my life on the internet for 10 years. I'm not sure what you don't know. I stopped eating meat when I was 7 because I loved animals and wanted to be a vet, and then went vegan just a couple of years after that. And that's been like 20 years of that. So way before it was trendy. I have my right thumb is a half an inch shorter and a half an inch wider than my left thumb. So it's really bizarre, and I can't get like fake nails because it doesn't.
Did that make like gymnastics hard at all?
No, I think it's a superpower.
Oh yeah.
Well, because I could hold on to the bar really well.
That's awesome.
I lived in Australia for 9 months when I was 20, and that was amazing. I studied and lived in France for 2 weeks when I was 11.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I did like a gymnastics exchange there. Got to live with a family there. And what a lot of people don't know, so I gave you a lot more than one, but what a lot of people don't know that listen today or that follow along today is that I was a celebrity personal trainer for 18 years. And that part of my life is something I just don't really talk about anymore. It doesn't have to do with the business. We work with people outside of fitness, and those magazine circulations and news things have slowly sort of dissipated, and I just don't post them anymore. So yeah, been all sorts of Today Show and Fox 5 and every magazine, all that. That was a huge part of my life. And I've worked with some pretty cool celebrities.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we're coming up on 3 years, which just mind blowing to think that 3 years ago this month we were like interviewing. And also when I started with you in early 2020, you still had one last, I think, personal training client that you were letting go of.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of cool. You were hiring like your first kind of person to like really come into the business, and then letting a part of you go. But look at where you've gone. It's
I know.
wild.
And I didn't let my certifications expire until April of 2021. I had, 11 different certs between CrossFit and whatever. And I remember crying when I didn't renew them, because it was like just a huge chapter of my life.
Yeah, that's a moment for sure.
Yeah.
Those letting go moments, those are the moments that people don't always talk about, for you to be able to like really fully step into this next part of who you're going to be. But yeah, I don't think you'll be personal training anyone in the future.
Nope, I will not. And I can always go back and get it again if I need to. But that chapter is definitely, that door is closed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for entertaining me and doing this. This is a lot of fun, and
Of
I hope
course.
that everyone enjoyed.
Yeah, no, this was a blast. Next time I'm interviewing you, we're going to officially have you on because now you've done 2 Q&A episodes, but we're going to have you on so I can actually interview you and you can tell us all about integrator stuff. If you loved this episode, if you thought it was fun, if you learned something new about DBE or myself or the team, I would love if you took a screenshot and shared it on social media, tagged me at I am Jessica DeRose, shoot me a DM, let me know whatever that was because I want to hear what you didn't know. It's always powerful for us to see what you're loving and what you want to learn more about, even if that is my life. So, as always, friends, cheers to your evolution. Thanks, Lauren. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.